And hello, everybody. Welcome to Blooming in the Rocks, our Invisible Sun actual play. My name is Kian. My pronouns are they, he. I am the lucky person who gets to run things around here for tonight. Before I pass it over to my cast to ask them to introduce themselves, I have a little bit of housekeeping that I want to make sure we cover. Um, what am I? I'm just staring at my tab like my tabs are going to tell me which one I'm supposed to click on. Um, okay, first things first. First things first, and most importantly, the causes that we are currently raising money for. Here, always, we are raising money for the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. They are doing much needed work on the ground in Gaza. Keep on eyes on Gaza, keep on eyes on Sudan, keep on eyes on the Congo. Pay attention to what is going on in the world around you. None of us are free until we are all free. We are also currently raising money for one of our community members, Lion, Tales from the Table Studios. He is a very loved member of this community, and so he has asked us to go ahead and share his Ko-Fi link. So we're doing this all with his permission, but if you can, go and donate, go and support. We've got a couple more days until he needs to turn over the funds that he needs in order to make sure that he and his family can keep housing. So if you are able to, we very much appreciate you showing him your support. Of course, as well, if you like what we do, come hang out, come to our Discord server. It is us just being feral gremlins screaming all the time. It's a lot of fun. It's a good group of people. We like to just hang out, talk about our characters, talk about our games, kind of whatever crosses our minds. Usually pick fights with each other. It's going great all the time. But yes, come and hang out. Come check out our Discord if you like what we do, or if you don't and you want to hang out anyway. I don't really care. Just come say hi. Come check out the vibes. See for yourself. Um, Before I hand over to my cast, one final thing. I do just want to note at the top that Invisible Sun does deal with some mature topics. Those are things related to identity, sense of self, life and death, things like that. And sometimes we're not in the mindset to be able to negotiate with those topics and want to sit with them. If that's not the time for you today, that's totally okay. Take the space that you need, take care of yourselves first and foremost. My cast and myself, we have our safety tools in place, but I do want to sort of bring attention to that at the top, as I haven't been very good at sharing that at the beginning of the game. But this is a game that deals with some intense topics. It is also considered a horror game, so there will be times when we dive into more of those horror elements. So if that is not for you, totally understand. Catch another one of our streams. We have plenty of options to choose from. That is, I think, all the housekeeping things that I have for right now. So I would like to go ahead and hand it over to my cast. If you can tell us who you are, who you're playing, what their character sentence is, and what you got up to during downtime. So I will start with JT.
Hi, I'm JT. My pronouns are they, them. Tonight I will be playing Stellan Faust. They are a connected stoic of the Order of Weavers who strikes deals. During downtime, they spent a lot of time reading and thinking. They have a lot of information to act on.
Which is a threat. That absolutely feels like a threat coming from Stellan because it is.
Oh.
And I'll hand it over to Ava.
Hello, my darlings and dears. It's your Madam Ava here. Tonight I'll be playing Isra Nimmat, an aromatic empath of the Order of Goetic who plumbs the depths of sleep. And during downtime, uh, yeesh, I guess she's been reading. I guess she's been, uh, pondering. Pondering is probably the best word, and seeing folks and being stressed over seeing folks. It's fine. It's cool. It's cool. It's totally fine.
You know, she's doing the best she can. Nothing
She's-
that Isra is doing is a threat, but she might feel threatened right now, which is also concerning. And over to JD.
Hey, I am JD, pronouns he, they, and I am playing Alistair, pronouns they, them, who is an itinerant empath apostate who hosts a legion. Yeah, they've spent a lot of time thinking, and that's probably not the best thing they could be doing, but it is the thing that they are doing. They have some conversations they'd like to have, for once, not with the legion.
Everybody is either threatening or being threatened. This is great. Everyone's feeling
and
super
thinking.
awesome.
This is bad. We shouldn't be thinking.
No one in this group should be left alone with their thoughts ever.
Ever.
And of course, my name is Kian. As I said at the top, I am the storyteller for this game, so I get to play everybody that my characters do not. Um, Before we jump into the first scene, I do have our intro ready to go. Just give me 1 second while I
Speaking of
switch
threats,
over.
Kian, that was a
Look.
threat.
Look. The intros are friendly and perfect every time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Perfect,
Mm.
yes. Friendly, no.
Look, I have always been the nicest. The peace you feel is false. The moment of quiet never extends too long, interrupted by the crack of porcelain chipping and falling to the ground. She's beautiful despite the fissures in her face. The fine ceramic, painted with blue filigree and inlaid with gold where the cracks have grown too deep, is expressionless as she focuses on the task at hand. Gently now, she says to herself, mouth opening but moving no further to shape the words. She brings the figurine closer, brush in the other hand, and gently paints an expression of shock on the face. She takes a few moments to perfect it before placing the figure down, in its spot, neatly lined up next to 8,749 others. Did you know the human face muscles can make 10,000 facial expressions? When she pulls her hand back, we see the figure she has been working on. Red hair, pale skin, fox-like features. A likeness to one Stellan Faust, one could say. Or should say, because it is Stellan, or the Stellan of this realm. Behind them, 10,000 Bellamys, 10,000 Alistairs, 10,000... Oh, she says, tone concerned, even if her face remains blank. That one is damaged. That won't do. She reaches for the final Isra in the row, but accidentally nudges it instead. Number 10,000 topples into 9,999, into 9,998, so on until the very first Isra falls to the ground and shatters. Porcelain isn't made to withstand the force of crashing to the ground, after all. The dollmaker's face snaps to look at you. You hear her whisper, "Ah, there you are. I thought you had gotten away from me," before her hand covers your vision.
Hey, Kian,
So,
what the fuck? Hey, Kian, what the
so,
fuck?
like I said,
the
I've
fuck?
never threatened anybody in my
What
life.
the fuck? What the
It's
fuck?
it's fine, guys. It's cool. It's cool.
Last session wasn't enough for you?
Last session, in the most loving way, last session was just the beginning.
Okay.
I would like to start with Alistair. Um, Alistair, you had this rather uncomfortable, perhaps uncomfortable conversation with the Legion at the inn. Stellan had followed you there. You engaged with them. Things have been a little bit tense, a little bit uncomfortable for the last couple of weeks. Where are you right now? And sort of what are you doing to preoccupy your time?
Unless Alistair has been unable to be there in Bellamy's absence, they have been at her cottage, even though she is not there. However, if the door would not open, they would have been elsewhere.
I think that the house knows you well enough, and Bellamy's magic knows you well enough. That likely it still could have easily granted you access, made sure that you had a roof over your head, somewhere warm to sleep. Um, Occasionally, Visley are unexpectedly yanked back into shadow, even though they've escaped. Sometimes it is that memories are calling them back, or maybe some of the made up entities from shadow are thinking too strongly of them. You expect this is probably what happened to Bellamy. She hasn't been gone quite long enough for it to be truly concerning yet. It's weird, but it's not quite alarming. Um, so yes, you would have access to Bellamy's home. Um, I know that you have a couple of conversations that you want to have with people. Are you having those at Bellamy's home, or are you going to find people elsewhere?
Oh, absolutely going to find people elsewhere. They know they know how to find. Well, theoretically, they know how to find Isra's place since they have been there before. They would not invite Stellan into Bellamy's place without Bellamy being there. So, yeah, no, absolutely not.
Probably the smart move. I don't know that Bellamy would appreciate it very much if you did that. Um, Candace is still around because there is no use for magical canes in the gray. So Candace is still there, makes you a warm cup of tea, make sure that you have food, whether or not you take it and eat it. But make sure that you, for as much as it is possible, it does its part that your routine is not interrupted any further than it needs to be while Bellamy is gone. I would say it's probably about, we'll say it's mid-morning. So it's a reasonable time to go call on people if you would like. Who are you going to go find first?
So, Kian, I do have one question first. I think as the days have gone on without Bellamy being here,
Hmm.
Alistair would go into the murder board room unless they were prevented from doing so.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay. Um, it's chaos. It is as chaotic and overturned and absolutely not understandable as you would expect from somebody who goes multiple days without sleeping at any given time. You see, didn't expect this. I didn't expect this. I would like to draw a card for this, actually, because I didn't draw a card for the scene as it stands, and I feel like this is important. Oh, and the card I have drawn is Enveloping Darkness. So let me get to that card so I can read the description.
That sounds fine. That
It's
sounds
gonna be
fun.
great. I know my alphabet. There it is. Value 5. Mysteries, rats, mirrors, stone. Meanings are restriction, loss, endings. Dark isn't an absence of light. Light is an absence of darkness. Darkness is the default. It moves in to fill any place the light abandons. The dark was the totality of the actuality before the suns existed. And according to many, the dark will be the totality again once the suns are gone. The darkness is the end. It takes things. It takes us. It grabs, constricts, and overwhelms everything not warded by the light. Invisible magic is enhanced, and Stoics gain a +1 to all ventures. This is so perfect. You don't even understand how perfect this card is to draw for this scene. In part because it is dark. It's dark in the way that would be cozy and comforting were everything not so aggressively opposite of Bellamy. Bellamy, you likely have noticed, is not a fan of the overhead lights. Bellamy uses ambient light, mood lighting whenever she can, because those overhead lights can be harsh. Sometimes the sun doesn't hit the right angle and something ends up too bright because of it. She really likes to keep things sort of feeling cozy and gentle on the eyes. And this space is dark and not gentle on the eyes because there's writing and you have to be able to read and write and take note of things and observe, and you're having to squint your eyes and really focus, and it already makes you uncomfortable. You can't find a light source anywhere in this room. Roll me perception. We're gonna have this be a challenge rating, we'll say a challenge rating 5.
Okay. Just, out of curiosity, would the skill seeing through deception help at all with this, or not so much?
I think it would. We can knock that down to a 4.
That is a 7.
Nice. So, what you see doesn't make much sense to you. You see pictures of different people with strings tied to them, and it all kind of centers back on one person. What orders or order was Alistair connected to before becoming an apostate? Was there one? Remind me.
They don't think so.
Okay. then you would probably not recognize the person that's at the center of this. You would recognize that it seems like it's a picture that takes place on the Vancian campus, the Order of the Vances, but you don't recognize this person in particular. Your familiarity with the Vances is that this order is one that does things by the books. They are very particular in how they go about things. Similar to Goetics, they follow their hierarchy to a T. So if there's a higher level Vance who asks something of a lower level Vance, that task will be accomplished. It's very much the hierarchy sort of runs everything there. They are the only order to have an established institution. So for the Goetics, it's the Hall of Records, and that's their big library. But the Vance actually has the University of the Vances. It's an entire campus here in Saturnine, where they have different classes and different lectures, and it runs as its own university. They're the only order that is structured like this. You would know that Vances carry grimoires, so they are traditional spellcasters. So they learn spells, they allow those spells to take up space in their bodies in order to be cast, and then they have to relearn them or reallocate that space. But they're very in tune with traditional spellcasting. This person, oh, I should have pulled up a picture. This person is wearing a brown suit, sort of like skinny to the point of like uncomfortable kind of Grinch fingers almost, where they're long and spindly like that. He does hold a wand. He's got a briefcase next to him, and he's got a red tie, but there's nothing particularly striking about these features. But yeah, I think that that's probably what you would notice, is that there are, or at least at this glance, that's what you notice. There are a bunch of different things, and they all seem to kind of converge on this picture of this one person that seems to have been taken at the Vancian campus.
Alistair would be mindful as they are doing this that they are not intending, at least, to be nosy, but
Okay.
they are curious if there are any things written, like any sort of find out more about this, what does this mean, or something like that. Because essentially, their goal here is not to find out what Bellamy is hiding, it's to find a way to help Bellamy.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I gotta get into this one. You would, if you're getting into reading things, the one thing that I will give you with your role is that underneath that picture is the letter O dot, as like an O for a first initial, and then the last name Vanderal, Vanderal, and I'll drop that in the chats just so that's easier to see. You would catch that much. I would say the way that things are angled and where, like, sort of the darkness of the room, the general vibes of the room, I would have to have you roll again, and this would be specifically because you're starting to get to the snooping level. This is not just like a cursory, let me look without shifting any papers kind of situation. So if you want to look again, you can, but you'll have to roll again for it.
You know what? Let's do it. Let's roll again.
Okay. We're gonna do this at a CR. We'll call this a CR6.
Okay.
And go ahead and drop that to a 5 for your skill.
I'll let the dice then tell us what happens. I won't try to bring it down more.
Okay.
That is a 5.
Nice. Perfect. Right on the money. You start to see references to some sort of an accident with a spell. You start to see references to you start to see Bellamy's name, but it's the more that you're paying attention, the more you're noticing this feels written in third person. like either written in third person or talking about somebody else named Bellamy. It's not just noting like, oh, I experienced this. It's Bellamy experienced this. And so it doesn't quite make as much sense. It doesn't feel like necessarily this is Bellamy talking about herself. You notice that there's a lot of mention of a loss of life in this accident of the spell. And the last thing that I will give you is that there is you're looking at kind of a document, and Bellamy's name is coming up in there. There's another name that's been redacted from it. That's the last name that I'll give you. Anything else that you're doing while you're poking and prodding?
No, I don't think so. I think particularly because it takes a bit for Alistair, I'm not even sure it happens while they are in this space, to recognize that use of the third person, because they are used to that for themselves. So this does not necessarily initially strike them as odd, but I imagine probably as they are out and walking, they're kind of mulling that over, and so it'll take a bit for that to connect.
I think that's a good point. I think when it does eventually hit you, what makes it feel other is that it just doesn't sound like Bellamy. It's not that it's the third person element. It's that you've never heard Bellamy talk about herself in third person. You've never heard Bellamy refer to herself in this way. And so it something about that strikes you of maybe this isn't Bellamy talking about herself. But that is a good point. That is, at first you're just like, yeah, everybody talks about themselves this way. I love that. As you're going to close the door, you grab the handle and your arm gets stuck. And there's this brief moment of confusion before Extar comes to the front and says, "This is some interesting nosiness from you. I wouldn't have expected it."
I was looking for ways to help.
Help yourself or help your friend?
Help my friend. How would looking at, what did she call it? Her murder board? How would that help?
I'm not sure. I thought you might be able to tell me. And the tenseness around your arm has relaxed and you're able to close the door fully.
Was there something you wanted in there?
Not me, but I wouldn't worry about that now.
I hate it when you say things like that.
Well, there are several dozen others of us in here, so plenty who could want things in there, I'm sure.
Several dozen. That sounds like quite the underestimate.
I was trying to be gentle. It's a little early for me to be tormenting you with how many of us are keeping free room and board in your soul.
Love it when you say that too.
Anytime, Alistair. So, who are we calling on today? You seemed like you were headed somewhere before you made a detour to snoop into Bellamy's murder board, as you called it.
I think I'd like to talk to Isra.
Oh. And you can tell that Duasis has sort of ears perked up, but isn't saying anything. Well then, to the Dreamwalker, I think that this should be very interesting for all of us.
And Alistair will make sure Bellamy's place is as secured as they can leave it, and go find out what Isra's house is looking like on this particular day so that they can find it.
What does it look like today, Ava?
As you're getting closer, you hear the paper boy just start to call out something about birds? Birds? That's weird. Why is he mentioning birds? And then you get closer and you see this very large kind of bell jar shape where Isra's plot of land is. You don't see like the fine details of it, but you see that over this bell jar shape, there is like a red velvet cloth that's just draped over it, like it's hiding it. But then when you get closer and you step onto the lawn and you're making your way to the door, you see that it's parted slightly, and you can see that there is something that resembles bars. And now you can think back to what the page boy said. It's a bird cage.
You come up to this gorgeous, ornate bird cage that's mostly covered by this simple cloth. Um, as you get closer, Alistair, the other thing that you notice is that there seems to be this sort of, I guess, layer of ash over everything. And Isra, you've noticed this as well, and you haven't really been able to get your dreams to not do this since that night with Eliseo. Everything comes back coated with ash for some reason. And it doesn't seem to be, the house doesn't seem bothered by it. You can clean, and the next night that same layer of ash is back, and it's not so much that it's changing the coloring or anything, but when you get up close to it, if you run your hands just come back kind of coated with this very fine layer of dust. But you have come up to Isra's birdcage house as it stands.
Alistair will definitely pause to like kneel down partway to touch some of the ash just to feel it on their fingers and look at it, and then make the rest of their way to the entrance and knock or ring whatever bell is what makes sense with this structure.
Before we get to that, roll me perception. We're going to call this a CR6.
Okay. Is there anything I have that would be helpful there? I don't think so. But I will spend a bene.
Okay. Drops it down to a 5.
It's me throwing dice everywhere. It's fine. That is another 7.
Nice. You feel Duasis recoil when you touch this ash. And it's interesting because you felt him recoil when you were speaking with the proprietor at the inn. And that was out of fear. And this is a different kind of, I'm stumbling even over the words. It's not even fear, it's displeasure, but disgust enough to want to pull back from it. But there is something about it, I'll give you with a 7, that also feels very familiar. Not Duasis's feelings, but the sensation that comes with the ash. Touching it, something feels familiar, something feels settling to you. And you're not quite sure if that comes from you or from the Legion.
Alistair pauses for a moment to ostensibly ask the Legion, even if it is maybe a little more pointed towards Duasis. Everything okay in there? Everything okay with you?
It is cold. Duasis always kind of has that calm assurance to him. You associate him with the cold. This is the cold of, please don't call on me. Nobody move. If we don't move, nobody gets in trouble kind of situation. And it is silence. There is no response.
We could stand here all day. We could also touch more of that.
When you say that, your hand involuntarily gives a jerk to kind of shake off what's left on your palm.
That feels like a no. You could use your words to communicate. That's respectful. Instead of just using my body to show your displeasure.
Extar speaks up and says, just don't worry about it and don't touch that again, please. And again, there's that fear in Extar's voice of, don't ask questions, don't push this, don't get anybody into trouble.
And I think that's really the piece that makes up Alistair's mind, because, well, not maybe the last time someone got into trouble, but certainly the time before that, it ended in death. And they do not want that to happen again, as much as they want information and answers. So they just nod and say, fair enough. I have business anyways.
The whole time that you are walking in, getting closer to however it is, I do want to establish if there's a door knock or a doorbell or something, but you can feel your hackles raised the whole time. Like the Legion is unsettled the entire time that this is all taking place. Before we figure out how the contact is made, I'm going to pull a card for the next scene. Ooh. And I have drawn Dangerous Elixir. Oh, wasn't paying attention. That's okay. Hopefully nobody else was either. Value 1, notions, cats, clocks, wind. Power, transformation, risk, and consequences. Powerful magic comes in small, perhaps even innocuous forms. The dangerous elixir proves that to be true. It is powerful and transformative, but is it a boon or a bane? Are the potion's effects harmful or helpful? It's all about the risk you're willing to take and the consequences you're willing to face. Indigo magic is enhanced, gray magic is diminished, and ardents get a +1 for all ventures in this scene. So you move forward. How does one knock or alert themselves to being outside Isra's home?
You see that there's like a little roost, like right next to what is presumably the door, and there is let's go with like a little barn owl, like just sitting right on top of it. And you can assume that they are responsible for letting Isra know that someone's at the door.
Alistair looks at the owl and says, if you would be so kind, would you tell Isra that we are here?
It hops off, and it hops like around the side, and it ducks under the curtain. And then you
Um,
see Isra like just come in like 5 minutes later.
Issa, this owl comes to collect you, and likewise, it seems like nothing inside the home. If it's there the night before, it's there the next night. It doesn't have this weird ash, but the home itself, the features that change and have to adapt because of the home changing, that's what's getting coated in this strange ash. So this owl is also coated in that fine dust and that fine soot. The owl comes to collect you.
Well, I suppose there is a visitor today. Usually I don't mind visitors, it's just I feel like it's so impolite to have my house not as tidy as it should, but thank you for letting me know. And she goes to her kitchen to get some small like fruit and hands it to the owl before going to the door to open it.
A few moments later, you are there, Alistair on one side, Easter on the other.
Alistair! It's wonderful to see you and to your legion.
Thank you, Isra. We are glad to be visiting your aviary.
I suppose you can call it that. Oh, would you like to come inside? I know I personally have not prepared for visitors today, but if you don't mind that, I'm happy to welcome you in.
Of course, we would be honored. Thank you for your hospitality.
Of course, come in. Would you like anything to drink or snacks or a pillow?
Tea would be wonderful.
Tea, okay. Would the Legion like anything? I don't know if it's proper to offer them mortal things? Mortal things. I had a summon that really liked pillows.
We will ask them.
Okay, I'll get the tea while you ask. She goes off to get the tea real quick.
And Alistair asks the Legion, well, I'm sure you heard her. Do you want anything?
I don't know that we've ever been asked before.
It's just polite.
And you can hear Extar wandering out loud. What is the most ridiculous thing that we could ask for that we still feel like she could give us? And eventually we'll settle on one of those round pillows that's got the button in the middle so that all of the cloth is pulled into the center. One of those, but it needs to be purple and red is Extar's request.
And Alistair does indeed pass that along when Isra returns.
She comes back with like a very nice green teacup and will place it in front of you. Oh, I can actually do that. I had a summon a couple of weeks ago and they really liked pillows, so I ended up buying several more. So I think I actually have one that's like that. Let me double check. She comes, she leaves for like a couple minutes. You hear like mumbling of like, no, not exactly that color. No, that's square. Oh, here it is. And then she comes back with a pillow.
Alistair, you have never heard or experienced this before. Extar lets out this sort of like chirping sound because he is so pleased at this. This like chirping, just strange, very feline noise of just excitement, and gives like a little shiver of just how pleased. Not that Isra had the pillow exactly, but that he has been asked what he wants, and that in his vision at least, Isra was inconvenienced to go and get it, and now you are inconvenienced to now hold and keep this pillow. This feels like his peak dance puppet dance moment. He is so excited about this right now. But he is
Alistair's just like, don't get used to it.
All right. How may I help you today, Alistair?
We had some questions for you.
Hmm.
You you know a fair amount about demons, right?
Well, demons were not my full study, but I do know a good amount. I would have, well, to be a Goetica, you have to at least know a fair amount in regards to angels and demons. Angels are more my specialty, but I know demons.
What do you know about them? We're sure what you know could fill volumes, but if you were to give us a summary.
Oh, yes. Let's see. Is there particular information you would like to know, or just general overview?
This maybe feels like a ridiculous question, but just out of curiosity, how would a demon or several or many demons end up in a person's body?
Hmm. Let me think. Well, I'm gonna put this in front of my face so I don't always look to the side. So, typically when it comes to demons that do possessions, you'll either find demons of the dark or demons of the red. Those are going to be the ones you see a bit more often. When it comes to possessions, they feed off of the life force of whoever is the host. So, in a normal fashion, those who are being possessed do not last a long time, so to speak, or at the very least, they do get drained a fair amount before the possession ends, whether that be completely consumed or being able to part ways. Hmm. When it comes to multiple, though, it's not common. I've heard instances of about one or two, but anything more than that, that tends to be a bit more of an anomaly, mainly due to the whole energy source situation. But there are rituals in place to put multiple demons inside of a vessel, and if it is a ritual that has done it, the one who's preparing the ritual, like a goetic, for instance, they would notify that demon or demons. So the demon in question should know how the possession came to be. One of the other very rare instances, almost as common as more than two beings being able to possess someone, is very powerful entities doing the possession themselves, no ritual required. It doesn't happen often. I feel like I've seen more legend of it, but legend comes from some fact, so I'm assuming there has been points in history where powerful entities just pick someone.
And we know you said that this was rare, but what is the highest number of demons you have ever heard of being in one vessel?
Hmm. Would that be a roll, or could I just say a random ass number?
Uh, pick a number less than like 4.
Oh, less than four. We'll just go with four.
Yeah, not a
I think
lot.
four. I think four is probably the highest I've ever heard.
Interesting.
Quite interesting. How many do you have, Alistair, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, we haven't properly counted.
Oh, that must be a lot.
It is more than 4.
Ooh, must be really a lot. I will say, hmm, how long have you been we, so to speak?
We're not entirely sure. We
Hmm,
don't know how it happened,
hmm.
but we returned to this state when we came back from Shadow.
Hmm. So it's possible you've been we before the shadow and came back to we after shadow. Interesting. It is very. Hmm. You are a very interesting being, Alistair. As mentioned, possessions take a lot of energy, and demons feed off the energy of the host, but it seems that your legion's been with you for quite some time and you don't seem tired. I don't think I've ever heard of you really explaining that you were tired or drained.
No, we haven't experienced anything like that.
Hmm.
Isra,
Hmm.
we know this might be an unusual case, but would that then suggest, if I'm understanding right, that either the Legion is somehow self sustaining or that they are drawing energy from somewhere else?
I fear that may be a question you have to ask them. There's several. There could potentially be several different reasons. It can be self-sustaining. It could be eating itself, and that's how it's doing it. There could be drawing energy from something else, or perhaps there's something about you that, while it's not your energy that sustains them, something else.
We have some other questions, but we may also have a favor to ask.
Of course, I don't mind. If I'm able to do it, I don't mind doing it.
We are technically not certain if we would be doing a favor for you or you would be doing a favor for us, but you had asked permission once upon a time to walk in our dreams.
Oh, so exciting! If you are okay with it, then I would be honored.
We are not sure how much you will get from it, but we think you may be able to glean more than we have.
Hey, hmm. I guess the first question, just in case, are there key names of the Legion that I should know in the likelihood that I may meet one of them? Just so I'm not, so I'm polite.
What is the reaction from the Legion to that?
I need both of you to roll me perception, please. There's no CR for this one. It's just what you roll. Whew, okay.
7.
A 0 and a 7. All right, Alistair, this is actually perfect. This makes perfect sense. You don't see this coming. Isra, where have you sat? Is this like a sitting room? Is this like a where you see clients? Like what kind of space are y'all in right now?
I think they're just in her living room right now.
Um, the cup of tea that Isra has brought you, it does not fall from your hands. It is thrown violently from your hands down. And Isra, your perception is because there is a very strange moment where your body feels like it's not moving of its own volition, and you find yourself backed up farther from Alistair.
Oh, I suppose that was the wrong question to ask.
There is what you two cannot see, but what I would like to gift to the table at the very least is that in some level it is Eliseo and Duasis staring at each other right now. Both equally furious at the other. Different reasons, but both furious. Alistair and Isra, that is so far past what you're able to perceive right now in your physical forms, but there is clear tension brewing. I'll say, Isra, you've moved to stand. That's how much Eliseo pushed you to move back. That's what it was. Eliseo was physically propelling you to get space from Alistair and from the Legion. Alistair, it would have felt like a child throwing a tantrum throwing that glass had it been Extar. But this was Duasis, and that was clearly just, I need to stop this conversation right now. And it was the equivalent of you getting up and pouring that cup over Isra's head. This was just, I need to disrespect you in this moment to get you to stop speaking because we need to stop this conversation. It is, the vibes are not good, my friends, in this room.
Well, I'm going to assume that the invitation was redacted. Unless you still would be okay with me wandering your dreams.
So I will ask if Alistair is prevented from answering that. Because they would start to say, no, I still give consent.
I think there is no prevention, but there is just shock when you say that. But you are not stopped from saying it.
Alistair looks surprised by that and then repeats, I still give you my consent.
Okay. Well, I should make preparations in that case. I do have a question. I don't know what happened to you. Hopefully, maybe the dream walking could help. But if it doesn't turn out any possible clues, would you like me to check within the Goetic library to see if there's any information on your case?
Yes, I would like that. I know you had mentioned that you had gotten that letter with interest expressed from the Goetics in our case. I am not certain I'm ready for them to know. But you going to the library, I would be good with that.
Very well. Random question for Kian. For Drav, does Isra know if they have any levels of importance within the Goetic community, or are they just like a A goetic that just happens to be nosy.
Drav is a little chismoso, so absolutely. There to get the drama, get the tea. But
Mhm.
what am I looking at? This one. Not that one. Oh, nuts. Okay, give me 1 second while I try to
Mhm.
find. That's what it is. No particular clout. Just a level 2 goetic is all that. That's as much clout as they have.
Okay. I will say, for my associate, that letter more likely than not was just due to they've seen me interact with you and Bellamy on occasion, and they were just simply nosy. They don't really hold much sway within the goetic community. I would be a bit more. It is understandable to keep your peace from Drav. Drav is not someone I would be worried about. I would have been more concerned if the goetic community at large, the leaders, if they sent a message to me instead. But it seems that they haven't. So I think we're okay for now.
There is a mixture of relief and disappointment on Alistair's face in response to that.
Aw, I want to be special. I want people to try to kidnap me. Isra understands that. You don't know why she does, but she understands. Okay. I will make sure to let you know when I'm ready to do the dream walk. I need to just gather a couple of things, and I do have a couple of errands that I need to run today. Probably not tonight, maybe tomorrow.
Tomorrow, as far as we know, would be excellent.
Excellent. Well, feel free to stay as long as you like. If you need to go somewhere else, that's perfectly fine. I do want to say to the Legion, I apologize if I said anything out of turn, but please enjoy the pillow.
Alistair braces themselves for whatever response might happen because the mention of the pillow could either make Extar really happy or the acknowledgement of Duastis could make things real bad.
Um, we are back to that cold silence. There's no response. Um, Not even from Xstar about the pillow.
Dang.
Well, we thank you for the pillow.
Of course. As mentioned,
And
feel free to stay as long
the
as you need.
tea, which we are also sorry about.
It's fine. I probably said something out of turn, so it happens. It's not the most angry spirit entity that I've worked with, so it's okay.
What was the angriest?
Slightly think of Eliseo for a bit. But that's not one that she actually summons. So, let me think. There was this one time. It was for an exam when I was still in my early studies. I said something out of turn in regards to a protection spell. It ended up it ended up working, but I did have for several weeks after a colony of cats that would just howl outside my house. It did not make sleeping well.
We were about to say that sounds lovely, but now that you say that, no, that does not sound lovely.
I couldn't dream walk for several weeks. I was so sad. I felt like Bellamy in that moment with just insomnia, and I never want to experience that ever again.
We really do need to make sure Bellamy sleeps more.
I'm working on something. I'm working on something. Don't
Sorry,
exist.
speaking of cats, mine was committing crimes, so I got distracted for a moment.
But yeah. You're welcome to stay in Easter's home as long as you need.
You Hmm. No, I was going to say something about the Legion, but I don't think that the Legion is engaging right now. I think that there is a very, very sharp silence coming from them. Of the highest displeasure. There's no hiding it. But it's not, right now, it's just angry. I think that probably like, probably what is most concerning to you is that you can't tell where that anger is directed at right now. But right now, the Legion is just angry.
And I think, given that, as much as Alistair would like to stay, they feel like they may have already overstayed their welcome. And so they will just thank Isra and make their excuses to leave. Not entirely excuses. They do have a conversation with Stellan that they need to have. And say once again, we are sorry for the way that we behaved, but I look forward to seeing you in my dreams.
And to you as well, friend.
And they will head out.
And are you headed to Stellan now, or are you headed to Stellan later?
Later,
Yeah.
they are going to walk a bit, and as much as there is probably a slight desire to break something in Stellan's house and be able to blame that on the Legion, they are thinking less property destruction, since they already are dreading this conversation.
Fair enough. So then let's switch to Stellan for a little bit. Stellan, where are you? We'll say this is probably about mid-afternoon or so. Where are you? What does your day look like?
Stellan's day is leisurely as ever. They are taking their afternoon walk, taking in the sights, hoping to see who they want to see, but I think that they are going to eventually decide to stop by Isra's place if they have not already run into Alistair on the street.
Yeah, you are, I was gonna say more than welcome. I don't know if that's the best phrase, but you can stop by Easter's home. And you would see the same, this birdcage situation where there's this soft red you said it was red, Ava, is that correct? The red cloth. There's a soft red cloth over it, but everything is kind of coated in this strange ash.
Stellan would sort of, with a gloved hand, as their hands always are, pick some ash up and rub it between their fingers before letting it fall back to the ground. And then they will prompt the owl to go get Isra.
Oh, another visitor so soon. Oh my gosh. She's cleaning up the teacup mess before she goes to the door.
Before we move forward with that, I do want to draw the next card for the scene.
Please let
Ooh.
it be kind. All my cards are so mean.
No, this one, we've never drawn it before. I will say that. So, open to interpretation. If I can get back to the tab that I need to be at, I have drawn the Forbidden Game.
Oh, I saw it as I was scrolling, and I was like, I so hope it's that one.
Value 2: Notions, cats, clocks, wind. Meanings are danger, intellect, strategy, and balance. The temptation to partake in the game is strong, but you know you shouldn't. It's dangerous. It's forbidden. It's far more than it seems. It may appear to be a simple diversion, a pastime, but it is so much deeper, so much more engrossing, and so much more addicting. Some have lost their very souls to its intricacies. It's not that it's not just that people want to win, although that's part of it. It's the game's complexities that draw them in. Every move is a colossal undertaking. The game is more intricate than the real world that it simulates. That's the impossible thing. The game is bigger on the inside than the outside. It's bigger than the world in which it is played. Blue magic is enhanced, red magic is diminished, and ardents gain a +1 to all ventures.
Okay. Oh, Stellan, good to meet your good to see you. Sorry about that. Had to do some cleaning in the house real quick.
Don't mind a bit of mess, Miss Namont. After all, a messy house is a lived-in home.
Yes, but I do feel quite bad about the dust. It seems to just always come back.
It is quite interesting to see such a thing befall a home in this neighborhood, but I'm sure that we are all partaking in our own dangerous endeavors these days.
I suppose so. Would you like to come in?
I would very much like to. We have, if I recall, quite a bit to discuss.
Oh, yes, I do have information for you. Would you like tea with that, or any snacks, or pillow?
A green tea with honey, if you can.
Oh, yes, I can do that. She ushers them in to the seating area, and then she goes to make the tea.
Are you doing any snooping while you're left alone?
I think Stellan at the moment is just looking around to see if they can spot that thing.
Roll me perception. No challenge rating.
7.
You don't see it anywhere.
Then they're not doing any extra snooping.
She'll come back, and now you have a blue teacup.
Stellan will nod politely, take it, and set it down. Now, I believe we have the matter to discuss of your findings in the Goetic Library.
Yes. Let me get that over here.
Whoops.
I'm trying to remember what the. Can you remind me again what the overall question Stellan had? It was essentially just researching the
Stellan
note that he
was
found.
researching the spell that Carter was designing.
Yes,
It was using extra goetic magics that are not publicly available, and that is what Stellan was initially after. However, Stellan is after more information per the terms of their deal. Anything you learn in the Goetic Library.
Well, it was a bit tricky. It is something that is not readily available, so I had to do a bit more snooping than I tend to do at the library, but I found some notes, and right next to her is like a little, kind of like a journal. It's very thin in nature, but it's filled with just notes in regards to the request. That way, it's just written down, and I posted it in our section. But there was a book that didn't have any title in it, but it had something to do with some findings of a goetic. It didn't make a lot of sense, but there were a lot of notes within the actual notes itself, and it seemed to be talking about for goetics we have 13 types of summons. There's counsel, aid, guard, spy, query, theft, assail, restore, influence, creation, glorify, binding, and ally. There have been, and that's always been the case for us. The notes I found seem to be talking about trying to find a 14th one. And it seemed to have been, at least with the notes I found, what happens if an entity, or in the case of the notes, the demon didn't have a favor. Well, you didn't have a favor for the demon. So it's a do as thou wilt type of situation. From what I could tell of the book, well, the journal, it didn't seem like it got that far in finding information, but it may have been omitted just due to the nature of trying to find a 14th summon.
Very interesting, Bisnamont. I will
I would
take
say so.
that as I will. Now, did you learn anything else at the Goetic Library that day?
I was trying to find information about my visitor that won't seem to leave. Well, it's not been bothering me recently.
Anything else?
In regards to things that you asked about, no.
Not about things that I asked about. Anything else? Anything at all?
I don't believe I have anything in my contract stating that I have to tell you everything I look into. I am just a goetic.
Just at the Goetic Library.
Mm-hmm. Which is my right
All
to do.
information learned.
Mm-hmm.
That is everything you learned?
I learned other things, but I don't wish to express them.
I'm afraid that's not how contracts work, Miss Namont.
This is me personally not remembering the full contract
I
stuff.
did
So
go
could
back
you?
and check.
Yeah.
Stellan's wording was everything you learn in the Goetic Library.
Oh. We'll rewind that then. I need to go back and look. Oh yeah. I learned about the Pale. That's really it.
Very interesting. I'll come back for that finding later. We don't have to go into it. I actually have a small favor to ask regarding my end of our bargain.
Mm-hmm.
If you would be so kind as to vacate your house for 30 minutes, I would very much appreciate being able to handle this dark thing for you. I promise no harm will come to your home. And you have my word that I will take nothing and leave nothing, except for the demon.
You see that she does like a weird, well, not exactly weird. She leans slightly to the left, like she's listening out for anything. She wants to see if the house has any objections.
You don't even have to roll. The house, sort of a rock and a hard place. The house does not want to be left alone with Stellan. The house also does not want this thing in it anymore. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place.
Not even the house likes Stellan.
You've made it very clear where you stand about Stellan, at the very least.
I think the owl was okay with Stellan at the very least.
Me and the
Like,
owl
oh.
are homies, actually. The owl gets it.
Um, the house, it will defer to you. If you feel like this is the path to take, the house will trust that.
I don't have to fully leave the property now, do I?
You could wait outside if that is as far as you're willing to go. It's
Very
really a
well.
matter of proprietary information and the like. Again, my word that your house will remain entirely unaltered.
You see that she gets up and she moves to the wall and she gives like a comforting pat. I'll be outside to hold onto the curtain for you. Just let me know when you're done.
Of course.
And she'll walk out. I think she may take her tarot cards with her just to do something while she's out.
Stellan is going to wait a minute or two before settling in and just speaking out into the house. Let's make a deal.
Are you addressing the house?
The demon, wherever it is
Okay.
hiding.
I was gonna say.
I promised the house would remain unaltered, so I will not make a deal with the house, even though I really want to.
It would take a minute. You would see it in sort of like as light is refracting off of the glass that, actually no, even better, in the reflection of the tea that Isra brought you, you would see the hand appear.
A mirror thing, aren't you? Hello? I'm sure I do not need to make my acquaintance, given that I am your spotter and your initiator. I'm as familiar with this house as you are. I'm afraid you're not welcome here, so I'd like to make a deal for your removal.
Yeah, nothing happens yet.
I will allow you to return to my abode if that is sufficient, or if there is some other thing I can acquire for you or bring you. That would all do well to suffice indeed. I'm open to your demands here. I simply wish to see my friend unstressed about your presence.
The hand slowly begins to reach out of the cup itself and grab onto the edge of the tea kettle. And it's interesting because when you've seen this thing before, it was fully mobile, controlled where it went, very rapid movement, and now it seems a little bit sluggish as it kind of tumps itself over to land onto the tabletop itself. And with the hand that's still kind of coated in tea just spells out in all capital letters NEM.
Do I know what it wants?
Roll me
Or what that
intellect.
means?
We're gonna call this a CR. We're gonna call this a CR8.
Okay. I will
Weavers are not
spend-
naturally bookish types as much as other orders are.
Okay. I will spend an intellect, Bene, and can I offer magic identification, understanding, or quantifying?
No, not for this.
Okay.
So we'll drop it down to a 7.
That's fine. 7. Doesn't matter, it's an 8. Shouldn't have
Nice.
spent the Bene.
NEM as an abbreviation does not mean anything to you, but the only thing that you can think of is NEM is the name or assumed name of the Warden of the Dark.
Am I to understand that is your master or your name? Or what you want?
The hand just taps sort of over the first letter. Doesn't seem to make a notion of a yes or a no to any of those questions.
Okay. I can see communication is going to be difficult for us. Once for yes, twice for no. Is that your name?
2 taps.
Is that what you want?
2 taps.
But does Nem want you here?
1 tap for yes.
Okay, something to do with Miss Namat, I suppose.
2 taps for no.
Then the house.
2 taps for no.
Her friend.
1 tap for yes.
Interesting. All right. If I can help you get to them, will you come with me?
2 taps for yes. 2 taps for 1 tap for yes. Sorry, I got confused.
Do you intend to harm them?
No response.
Are you at liberty to say?
1 tap for yes.
That's fine. You can be obtuse about it, I don't mind. Would any mirrored surface work?
The hand is instead going to flip itself over and crawl just up onto your arm.
You could tap my arm.
Just
I'm going to assume this means yes.
hold tight.
Good. Good. Stellan will clean up the tea. Do you want a mirror to hide in, or?
2 taps for no.
Okay, you can just hang out there. Stellan will double tap their cane on the floor, pat the house, and then walk outside to see Isra.
As soon as you have made it into the sunlight, the hand disappears.
Interesting.
I'm
It's
assuming
handy.
you're done.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming I don't get to know how you did this.
I did what I do best.
I didn't realize you can make deals with hands, but
Just some simple communication attempts.
Hmm.
Yes or no questions are very powerful.
as I've come to realize,
You keep interesting company, Miss DeMont. I won't say dangerous because I do not think myself or Alistair to be particularly threatening when it comes to life or death, but I would be suspicious of everyone around you, including me. I will not hide that.
it's very amusing that people keep telling me that recently. I've gotten letters
Why?
saying I keep interesting company, and people just telling me I keep interesting company and always be suspicious. And it's getting quite frustrating.
I do not mean to frustrate you. All I mean to say is that you keep the kind of company that attracts the dark. And that is, by default, dangerous company.
I will say you don't frustrate me. Well, not in this moment.
Oh,
It's
but I
just a
understand the
situation.
pigeonholing that can probably seem like if people keep telling you.
Hmm.
I'm a person of some regard, so I can at least choose different wording. You keep dangerous company. Quite frankly, I trust your judgment, and I trust your ability to keep yourself safe. I won't be doing anything about it, and I hope you will not do anything about me doing anything about it.
Um, as long as it doesn't have to come to it, then we should be fine.
I'm sure it won't.
Do you have any other appointments today?
I'd actually quite like to speak with Alistair. I think that he and I can be very beneficial to each other.
I don't know where Alistair went. I did see them recently, but I don't know which direction they went to. So they may still be around the neighborhood.
No matter. I'm assuming since I haven't heard or seen from Bellamy in quite a while, they're probably slumming the streets.
Not sure. They seem to have a roof over their head the last time I saw them.
Well, that's good. I would hate to invite them into my home.
Do you not have a place for them to stay?
My lodgings are for one person.
Not even a couch?
I don't lounge.
She's slightly confused. She ponders that, but she won't question it further. Well, very well. Enjoy the rest of your day, Stellan, and thank you for treating my home with kindness.
Of course. A home is a bastion. I wouldn't dare disrespect anybody's house.
Oh, and tell Carter I said hello when we see them next.
I actually just saw them. They were bringing me some information I had requested, but I will send them a note.
I hope they have a good weekend.
I'm sure that they will. Stellan's going to tap their cane twice on the sidewalk and walk away.
I think that that is a excellent time for us to take a quick break. So, Cast, go ahead and stretch your legs, get some water, take a bio break if needed. Audience, please do the same. Pet your pets, and we will be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. See you soon. welcome back, everybody. Um, Before we dive back in, just a gentle reminder of a couple of things. One, we are raising money for the Palestine Children's Relief Fund here on Entropy Emporium, and we are also raising money for one of our community members, Lion, over on Tales from the Table Studios, who is in a financial situation in which he needs us to be able to help support him a little bit. So I'll drop the links for that shortly, but check those links in the chat. The other thing to remember is that Entropy Emporium, Invisible Sun, Blooming in the Rot is a horror game and does deal with some more serious topics. So if at any time you need to step away, please feel free to do so. But want to just give that heads up at the top. So we have just left Stellan and Isra. Stellan, you are leaving with this hand in your accompaniment, one would assume. Where you needed a little bit of time to cool off, Alistair, after that whole interaction with Isra. Where did you go? Did you seek anything in particular out? Was this just a, just absolutely random wandering to just let your feet lead you where they are? What did that look like for you?
In part, that's going to depend on the answer to this question, which is after leaving Isra's house, how was the Legion feeling? Like, was there still kind of anger that Alistair could recognize? Was it more like that fully cold feeling again? Where were we kind of at?
When you left the house and for a bit after, it definitely stayed that very cold, angry. We will not interact, we will not engage. Eventually that did simmer down a little bit and just became more of a X-Star kind of, oh, well, would you look at that? Kind of making comments at things that don't actually matter. If you have the pillow with you, X-Star absolutely asking about the pillow, but it's things that are irrelevant, and it's almost placating, wanting to just kind of like smooth things over as simply as they can. But things don't feel comfortable or casual or anything past. We're choosing to in essence, we are choosing to not be actively angry because we are wearing the permanent get along shirt. We can't just throw a tantrum all the time. But certainly if we could, we would be doing that right now, kind of situation.
Which Alistair, at least for the moment, doesn't push back on. I think I had to reference briefly my list of the different locations we talked about in our session 0. I think they may have gone to the magical flower shop.
Wonderful.
Just to sort of be in a theoretically calm place where they could just walk around and appreciate what they saw there.
Absolutely. And it is quite the peaceful place. The magical flower shop, I can't remember if this was established in our session 0 or if I had kind of come to this afterward, but it is run by somebody named Itzel, uses all pronouns. They are an apostate. She is in a wheelchair and wears this absolutely lovely flowy gown every single day that's got all of these different patterns and patchwork on it. The wheelchair wheels themselves are bright suns on either side, and they do glow in their own way. But he's very soft spoken, has short cropped hair that's kind of like bluish in the right light, bright green eyes, just a very gentle, very calming soul. You would know if you had been here prior, but Itzel is particularly skilled in making magic. Was once a maker before they became an apostate, and so is oftentimes making the bouquets and kind of making these flowers themselves. And he might be making the like cards for the flowers to go into, or like the nice packaging that they go into. But he's always busy. She's always got something that working with her hands. but yes, you would absolutely go to the magical flower shop. I have wanted to talk about Itzel since we created this flower shop, so I'm so glad that you went here. Um, but yes, so you find yourself in this flower shop. It's a very peaceful place. Um, it's not you've never seen it busy here, but Itzel has never seemed worried about making ends meet by any means, and it's very much a passion project of his. Um, but he would wheel himself out to the front. Have you frequented the flower shop before?
I think Alistair is there intermittently.
Okay.
Like, this isn't probably a we stop here every week, but this is definitely a like, if the mood strikes, we're going to step in. And while they do spend a fair amount of time browsing, they always make sure to leave having purchased something.
Okay. Um, so then you would come in and Itzel would wheel himself out from around the counter. Uh, Alistair, it's so good to see you. How are you?
We are having a day.
I can understand that. There are some absolutely lovely penny dragons that have just come in and will guide you over to these sort of bell-shaped white flowers, um, and uh, holds out a cluster of them for you. They smell lovely, very nice for the nerves if it's something that you need.
That definitely settles Alistair a bit, and they take a few deep breaths. Thank you. This is exactly what we needed. And these are beautiful.
Aren't they? I'm sure that Bellamy would love some. I know you've been staying with her recently here, and we'll package some up, some penny dragons, and put them into like a nice little clear pot and hand it to you. Just take those to her for me. I think that you both would appreciate them.
Are you sure?
Oh, of course, of course. You can come by another time and spend your money.
That is very kind, and we appreciate it.
Is there anything else I can do for you while you're here?
What do you do when you're feeling angry?
Oh,
I'm sorry. That was a forward question
Oh.
of us.
I don't mind that. I've just not been asked recently. I've just never. I used to break things a lot, um, and now I do a bit of. Usually, I'll busy my hands somehow, maybe making a bouquet or trying to craft something if I can. But I try to keep my hands busy. I think now, so I don't break things anymore. Are you angry?
We may have broken something earlier in anger.
It happens to the best of us.
Keeping our hands busy. That maybe we could take up knitting. No, those needles are sharp. Maybe not knitting.
You don't seem the knitting type, but and Itzel will go and kind of grab a small basket from behind the counter, and kind of start filling it with what looks like random flowers. Brings it basket back out to you. These are leftovers. I have to prune the flowers anyway, and you can braid them into crowns or bracelets or really whatever it is that you want. And there's no sharp needles involved like there are with knitting, so maybe this is something that would keep your hands busy, perhaps?
Weaving flowers together. Yes, that makes sense.
It doesn't seem really your style either, but I want to be helpful, so
We would like to try. Thank you.
I always have extras because, like I said, when you prune the flowers, I'd rather them be made into something beautiful than just go to waste, so.
We would like that too. this might not be for us, but we will figure that out.
If you need any help, let me know. And we'll take the pot of penny dragons and sort of wedge it into the side of the flowers, and then grab the pillow from you and wedge that kind of very gently over top the other flowers and hand you the basket back. So you're not carrying so many things in your hands.
And Alistair would thank him and start to leave and then pause and turn back. You have done a lot for us. Is there anything we can do for you?
Bring somebody new to my flower shop next week.
We can do that.
Call it a deal. Enjoy the rest of your day, Alistair.
Alistair's eye only twitches the slightest bit at the word deal.
You leave the flower shop. Itzel is humming to themselves quietly as you leave. Where are you headed next?
At that point, we are back to just sort of wandering. Potentially. Does Alistair know where Stellan lives?
Oh, that would be between Alistair and Stellan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Because I'm not sure they do.
No.
Then I think Alistair is just purely walking at random. Because they're realizing I did want to have this conversation, and I have no idea where to find them.
And it's probably one of those things of like, if I go home now, I'm never going to leave home again to have this conversation.
Absolutely. I'm
Oh, it
just going to
happens to
wave
me.
my flower crowns.
Yep. You are wandering around, kind of quasi trying to find your footing, but not really able to get there. And eventually, you actually end up coming across Stellan. Stellan, as you are leaving Istra's home, are you headed anywhere in particular, or are you headed back home?
Stellan, if you'll allow me a bit of narrative, Doohickory, Stellan is heading to an instrument shop to pick up a particular piece of, I want to say, collateral as they are prepping for their conversation with Alistair.
Okay. What are you picking up?
A guitar.
Okay. Then yes, absolutely. We'll say that there is a music shop not too far from where Isra lives, an instrument shop. The owner is Samir, who, interestingly enough, only speaks in third person. Not because they host a legion, but because Samir simply does that. And you walk in. Samir is a dark-skinned person, lots of braids, piercing silver eyes, and wears a black shirt, black button-down shirt, black slacks, and a white vest. Very sharply dressed.
It's very clean, professional. Stellan walks in, picks just a brand new guitar up. Maybe custom made, if you will allow it.
Sure. Custom made for Stellan, or just custom made?
Custom made for Alistair.
Okay. Okay. Custom made how?
Stellan knows very little about Alistair, but because of the nature of the conversation they are about to have, and because of what Stellan has observed, the guitar is unique. I will say the least. I'd like to actually, if we can, leave the eventual description up to JD, but it is something that Stellan would hope Alistair could consider all their own.
Okay. I'll say this cost you, we'll say 10 orbs,
Okay.
10 crystals, sorry.
Yep.
But yes, we can absolutely say that you've had time to get one custom made um, by Samir. Well, and JD, we can have Alistair give the description whenever it's presented to them later on. But yes. Anything else that you're looking for here?
Nope.
Okay. Easy enough. Then as you are um as you are leaving the instrument shop, across the street you would see Alistair kind of just wandering with a very nice basket that's got a vase of flowers, other flowers, and a pillow in it.
Stellan would whistle to conjure a wisp of light and just sort of flick it at Alistair. Not physical, just enough to get their attention.
And Alistair would look over at Stellan and narrow their eyes and ask, "Did you just whistle at us?"
Not at you, no. The whistle was for the spell. The light was for you.
We see.
Stellan's...
Are you taking up the guitar?
Absolutely not. This is for someone else. A gift, let's say. However, I have been meaning to talk to you. Stellan's stature and demeanor is much looser than Alistair is used to. It's usually very uptight and professional, but it's grown more... more fluid as Stellan sort of walks around Alistair to stand on the other side of them. I would dare say I have a bit of an offer for you, my good friend.
Okay, first of all, what would be the equivalent of an insight check?
Interaction. Perception, actually. We'll do no, we'll do interaction, sorry. We'll do an interaction
Okay.
roll. What are you trying to suss out?
Why Stellan's demeanor has changed.
Okay.
Like, trying to gauge, is this to put me at ease? Is this because they have gotten more comfortable? Like, is this what's going on here?
Okay. JT, you previously said that Stellan tends to be kind of an open book, so we'll put this at a CR4.
Is it the hand? Is it the braids? Who knows?
That is somehow another 7.
Nice. Okay. Stellan, what is causing this change in demeanor?
Stellan is very reserved. Reserved enough that people usually think that they are hiding something despite their assurance that they aren't. When foxes hunt, it is very, very still and tight up until the moment of impact, where it becomes more fluid. We see a cunning fox here circle around Alistair in a manner that is almost more assured than Alistair has ever seen them. Stellan's care with their image and their rapport with everyone is very much uncertain. It is built on uncertainty up until the moment of, I have an offer for you.
Yeah, Alistair hates all of that. But this is where we're at, so yeah. They just kind of filed that away.
So Stellan, you are met with a certain level of observation in return that I think maybe you probably haven't seen from Alistair. But certainly something throughout the day at the very least has had Alistair kind of in this mindset of, okay, I just need to stay ready and be a little bit more on my toes right now.
Excellent. You're learning. Now, if you would like to, I would like to offer you your accompaniment to my abode. I feel it would be more comfortable there. Music and ambiance and the like.
Are you throwing a party?
No, good heavens. Absolutely not. Parties are not my thing, unless I'm courting a high nobility, of course. It is more of a sense of I'd like to see what you can do. Now, I know that you have been quite at liberty to your inhabitants, and I think I can help you with that. Stellan would sort of begin walking, expecting Alistair to follow them.
Alistair would pause, not necessarily long enough for Stellan to say something, but long enough that they are making it clear that they are choosing to do this rather than automatically following.
Another earnest as ever smile or smirk or whatever you want to call it from Stellan.
JT, those are so different things.
I like to think that the smirk is more natural to Stellan than the smile, but I will allow you to decide. You are a very interesting person. I say that earnestly, as one of the most interesting people I know. However, you're an apostate. Your magic is not what I would consider to be on the side of things where you can control your situation, and I would like to help you change that.
We're listening.
I would actually prefer if it were just you listening. Is there a way we can put them on mute?
There isn't.
That's fine. Actually, all the better if they hear this. My offer to you is such. In exchange for the occasional task here and there and your own willingness to take the reins of your body and your mind, I'd be willing to show you what I can do, teach you what I can do. And I'm sure that I don't need to emphasize just how particularly strong I am with my magic.
Because you think you have already shown that enough to us?
Yes. Do you know how difficult it is to separate fire from a body? You watched me do it in the library like it was nothing. I didn't break a sweat. I can offer you that, and more. All you have to do is some non-dangerous tasks.
What would be the conditions of those tasks?
The conditions of the task are such. It is an indefinite agreement. However, there will be a clause in there that I can release it at any time, or you can plead for a release of this contract. However, the training will remain indefinite. Furthermore, the tasks themselves will not be anything that is apparently endangering to your life, happiness, or well-being. I'd like you to acknowledge that the Legion held within is not included in these dealings, legally speaking. However, as your tenants, I would like to call them. If they desire to interrupt, they will be ubiquitously entered into the agreement as well if they decide to try and stop you from completing what I have set you out to do, including the training. Anything further from them after that, the contract will prevent them from disrupting if they try, and they can be released from the contract if they agree to stop.
So, firstly, well, the concept of ongoing training is appreciated. We have seen enough from Carter to know that not having a time limit on a contract with you is not the best decision.
Okay, I understand. For as long as you would like, as long as you are training under me, and furthermore, you may at any time put in a bid for your release. I will ask that you get a signature from Carter and a signature from Miss Namat. If they both sign on and agree to your bid of release, you will be free. And the training will end immediately.
We would rather put a timeline on it with the option of a bid to terminate it sooner.
Okay. 5 years, and if you would like to terminate it, you may put in a bid to me and make your case.
6
I'm-
months.
Sorry, training you in 6 months is impossible.
One year.
2.
1 year.
Very well. 1 year. For 1 year, I will train you, and you will do non-dangerous tasks. Now, the contract is in my apartment. Unfortunately, my apartment is a bit difficult to get into. All you would need to do to get us in there is solve a puzzle. Prove that you can do that on your own. 1 year it is.
And if I cannot,
Well then, I suppose you'll have to be on your way.
we have several questions as well about the tasks.
You may ask me any question you would like.
We have reservations about being at your beck and call like Carter is.
You will not be at my beck and call. I am not putting you under the same terms as Carter. It is just, if I happen to need a task that suits your capacity and capabilities, I'd like to be able to call on you for that.
I'd like to does not sound particularly legally binding.
Right, well, the exact legalese will be I will ask you to do it, and you will be able to demonstrate that your training is coming along nicely. To yourself and to me.
We have concerns over the fact that you specified that these tasks would not be dangerous to me.
Correct.
That does not mean they would not be dangerous to the Legion.
If the Legion is that concerned about it, they can enter into the contract. Per the clause that prevents them from disrupting, delaying, or halting any task that you are performing, if they do decide to attempt that, they will be entered into the contract and will be subject to the same task clause that you are. No task that is apparently harmful to any of them. If they would like to enter right away, I am perfectly fine with that. However, I think that your concern over their well-being is, well, unfortunate.
In what way?
Demons don't just enter a body for fun, Alistair. They have shown very little concern for your well-being, including but not limited to attempting to stand up to me. But among other things, making you hesitate in times of fight, or otherwise attempting to disrupt your life. I do not know why you would show them the same courtesy.
Well, for instance, the fact that if they are in danger, I am also in danger.
Right, so then what are you worried about?
We will take this under consideration.
Good.
But I have one specific piece. You mentioned that the Legion could enter into our agreement at any time.
Correct.
I am asking for there to be a term set that while they are inhabiting my body, the only deal the Legion can make with you is to join this one that you and I are making together.
That would prevent them from opting out of it in the agreement of no further disruption. I will also not be allowing them the same bid that I'm allowing you. So please consider.
I mean, you would be, because they would either be joining this deal or we would all be terminating this deal.
Not so simple, I'm afraid. If they cannot leave this deal, then you cannot terminate. Or at least they cannot terminate if you terminate.
Then it would seem that we are at an impasse, because we are not willing to sign if this opens the door for many other deals to be made.
How about this? I will eradicate their ability to opt out of the contract for further agreement. However, once the deal ends at a year, that clause is over as well.
I would say that sounds fair.
Very well. I should also mention that this contract comes with a bit of a gift. However, you must first get me into my own home.
We are assuming that if you are not bringing someone home to make a deal with, you are able to get into your apartment by yourself.
Oh, sorry, was I unclear? This is a test.
You were not unclear. We were just expressing our thoughts out loud.
Consider this a pre-quiz. I just want to know what I'm working with.
Very well.
They would come to an apartment building that is a... It is like a giant gray floating Rubik's Cube. It is gray on all sides. Each individual segment is separated by several feet from the other one, and the entrance to Stellan's apartment sort of spins around and lands at the front with a puzzle at the door. I will allow Kian to take further any difficulties with that.
Sure. Do you have thoughts on what this puzzle is?
I don't. I think it's random every day. I think Stellan in particular does not typically have issues with them.
I'm picturing one of those, I've got like 150 of them over in my drawer over there, but like those ones that are just like bits of metal all looped together and you have to figure out how to untangle them in a certain order.
Mhm.
I'm picturing one of those. I will have you roll intellect for the puzzle, Alistair, but how much are you paying attention to, listening in on, checking in on the Legion right now?
They are absolutely going to focus in on that as before they take any further steps.
That general sense of don't make any sudden movements, don't want to attract the attention of a predator is here, and not because of Stellan. That is entirely internal. And then Duasis will come forward and just very quietly ask, what do you think you're doing?
Are you not pleased?
It's not what I asked. What do you think you're doing, Alistair?
Well, theoretically, learning magic.
What makes you think that you need this deal with Stellan?
Because, in case you haven't noticed, I have no idea what I'm doing.
There's a brief moment that passes where the unsaid, and we prefer it that way, lingers before Duasis continues. I've already told you that your interests are mine and mine are yours. And my goal is to make sure that nothing happens to you before those goals, before those interests are achieved. So why do you think you need this?
And Alistair attempts to choose their words very carefully. Well, for starters, because theoretically, one of these days, I will not have you around me to defend me.
I think that there is a genuine surprise. Not because they haven't thought the same thing, but because, again, Duasis's natural state is to underestimate Alistair and to think that you are not thinking ahead. And so there's this moment of surprise. I suppose you're right. I'm just noticing a trend, Alistair, between letting your Dreamwalker friend into your head, letting Stellan make deals. It's just feeling a little bit like you're trusting us less.
I would not say that. I would once again point out that one day when your interests are achieved, I will have many less around me if I have not found relationships with others. But that does not mean that I am trusting you less. There is enough trust to go around, and Stellan certainly does not have any of that going to them.
Well, do as you will then. Tread carefully doing it. There's only so much that we can get you out of. Just remember who's been here the whole time, Alistair. When you're done making all of these new friends.
I could not forget any of you.
Well, his little puzzle awaits you, I suppose. Roll me intellect with a CR, we'll say a CR4.
Alistair got a 1.
You are trying to figure out how to do this. And it's taking you much longer than you would care for it to. And very quietly, you would hear Extar ask, "How much do you want this?"
And Alistair pauses. It is not an external pause. Their hands are still moving. They're still trying to figure this out, but it is an internal one. And there's a few beats of silence before they say, I mean, I want it enough to have pissed off Duassus for the second time today.
And Extar will nod and very gently guide your hands through solving this puzzle. Less so giving you the answer, and more so when that critical mistake is made, redirecting that, and then letting you figure it out, but sort of just giving you that one little guiding edge toward it until you're able to solve the puzzle.
They will thank Extar for that.
Just don't make us regret it.
That's the goal, to not make you regret that.
Good.
Just in case we weren't clear.
I understand, Alistair.
I didn't want anything to be lost in translation.
Stellan, you see Alistair solve the puzzle.
Interesting. You made an error at step 37.
We don't think in terms of steps, we think in terms of process.
A solved puzzle is a solved puzzle, I suppose. Please, after you.
Do you usually just invite people to walk into your home ahead of you?
Of course. Don't you?
We don't have a home.
Would you like me to add a home to the contract?
Absolutely not.
Permanent housing. Just as Carter's house is, he will retain the house after the contract is over. And you will as well.
Carter's house is sad, and we are happy with our current living arrangements, such as they are.
Carter's failure to decorate is hardly my problem.
We're not going to debate this with you. We have a different opinion.
Well, then, by all means, let us get to signing. You would walk into an equally undecorated home. The living room, it has a single desk and a couple chairs in it. Organized stack of papers on the desk. The song "Something Wild" by Ninad First is playing ambiently throughout the house. No matter which room you enter, it is always the same volume. Um, in Stellan's bedroom, you would see a trophy case with a pocket watch and a key. One of those, the key is Carter's contract. The pocket watch is a separate contract. Um, Stellan will pull out a small scroll of paper from somewhere and will take another read over, make some physical edits to the contract itself, and will look to you, Alistair, and go, I'd actually like to propose one more clause, just a minor one, a small change regarding the sort of work I'll be having you doing. I would like to institute a total transparency clause between us. Honesty to the roof and back. I won't lie to you ever, and you won't lie to me ever. Privacy to still be respected regarding any personal matters. However, information and the like can be freely shared.
Can be or is required to be.
Required is such a stern term.
First question.
Sure.
About the tasks in general, or is this a blanket statement?
Blanket. Everything learned or discerned or gained or acquired or known within the binds of the contract's time frame. And it must be prompted. You don't just have to come telling me everything you learn.
Alistair is thinking about several things. They are thinking about what they saw in Bellamy's murder board room. They are thinking about their plan to have Isra dreamwalk for them. And even before I think they realize they're doing it, they're shaking their head. We are not comfortable with that.
It's a shame. All right, then it will be a simple matter of transparency regarding the tasks specifically, and furthermore, you may ask me what you wish, but I do not have to answer.
We are good with those parameters.
Okay, and you have my personal guarantee, not in the contract, just a personal guarantee. If I do decide to answer a question, you can be assured that the answer is honest. And Stellan will summon a quill, sign the contract, and sort of float it over to Alistair.
And Alistair will read through it to ensure that everything matches the terms that have been discussed and that there are no surprises. And assuming that that is the case, they will sign. Unless the Legion interjects before they can.
Not this time. Duasa said, "Do as you will," and the Legion is going to respect that as well.
Then they will sign. I think there's a moment of hesitation as they wait for that, and then it doesn't happen, and Stellan can see the surprise on their face as they realize they can just move forward with signing.
Alistair, what trinket, personal to Alistair, replica does this contract turn into?
That is interesting. Because Alistair does not have that many things that are theirs. I actually would imagine that it takes the form of their memento from Shadow, which is a worry stone made out of marble.
Stellan appraises it, nods assuredly, opens the trophy case with a key, sets it inside, and then locks the trophy case.
I
Before
hate the fact that it's called a trophy case so much.
before offering Stellan the still closed guitar case, a gift.
No strings attached.
That is what a gift is, I'm assuming, unless the definition has changed in the last 24 hours.
We just wanted to be certain.
I told you it would be a gift.
You also didn't give Carter weekends off.
Carter didn't ask.
Exactly why we asked. Just in case.
Good. Per the terms of our contract, you will get 1 8-hour period every week where we will train together. In the meantime, feel free to contact me for anything you would like, and enjoy your guitar. It's not my favorite instrument, but it's fine.
Yes, we have noticed that you are fond of the violin.
Stellan points to an actual trophy in the case. I was a violinist before I returned, and even before then.
We are intrigued, surprised.
It's as simple as this. There is no greater instrument that evokes emotion in song as the violin. Its music is undistilled, pure feeling. You can still get the effect from things like guitars and pianos, but there's something personal about the violin that I appreciate more than anything.
When you play, do you feel those emotions flowing through you?
I have to. It is the basis of my magic.
You are also quite interesting, Stellan Faust.
Of course. Why wouldn't I be?
We were more surprised not by the instrument, but by the realization that even you can form attachments.
I would not let that linger for too long. If you have to think about what that means for me in my work, it might upset you.
Yes, we don't like that.
Thought so.
We are going to go.
As you wish. The day is yours.
And Alistair will make their way out of Stellan's apartment. Probably breathing a bit of a sigh of relief as the door closes behind them.
Just out of curiosity, what would a custom made guitar for Alistair look like, JD?
So I do have one question for JT.
Mm-hmm.
Given that Stellan is the one who put the order in, how much is it custom made for Alistair and how much is it custom made for Stellan's perception of Alistair?
I would actually. I'm going to answer this, but I would also, I would have encouraged Alistair to just ask Stellan, but Stellan takes instrument playing and music more seriously than they take almost anything else, including their own well-being. They want the instrument to have felt like something truly akin to a piece of who you are, and probably would have attempted to use magic to relay that being onto the instrument itself.
And I think what we find in the case is I may need to look up one thing really quick. I suppose, I don't necessarily, though, have to look it up because we are in a world of magic, so whatever I say goes. It is an acoustic guitar, not electric, though I have no doubt that electric guitars in this world or the equivalent thereof could be played with or without access to amps and electricity and all of that. But it is designed for that softer sound. It is designed for that more personal connection that comes with any acoustic song. And I am imagining, though this is not, I believe, ever used, because I don't think it would conduct music remotely well, for a guitar, it is made of what looks like obsidian and feels like obsidian to the touch. And the sound that it carries is not the usual sound of an acoustic guitar. It is the sound of a stringed instrument being played underwater, even though that water is never there. That unearthly echo that comes with that. And that is what we are seeing and will eventually get to hear as well. I suppose we get to hear a few notes as Alistair tries it out.
That is sick as hell. I love that so much. Absolutely. Yeah, that's cool as fuck. I do want to take a moment to jump over to Isra, and check in as you have had the opportunity to if you so choose, check in with your friend Marianne. Is that something that you want to go do?
Yep, well, let's do it.
Awesome. So, you are sitting at home, having a hopefully much quieter afternoon after having played host to some guests, and Marianne is a Beastley, lives in Saturn, lives in Fartown, excuse me, so not too far from where you are. Do you try to communicate ahead of time, or do you just go over to where you know she lives?
I think she'll communicate ahead of time because, again, just to be polite.
Um, are there now carrier pigeons? I was talking about carrier pigeons the other day. Are there now carrier pigeons
Hell
that
yeah.
came with this? Yes, wonderful.
It's a very pretty, like, it's like one of those like fancier looking pigeons, like before they became just like the street, like the air rats of New York. Like
Yep,
a very fancy pigeon with like very iridescent green feathers and
wonderful.
very soft fluff. It's one of the cute pigeons.
Uh, you send one of these lovely pigeons over to Marianne's home. Just ask a note, I would guess, asking if you can stop by. Um, she would respond absolutely, welcome you over. I do need to draw a card because I forgot to draw a card for
Please let it be nice.
the last scene.
Please let it be nice.
Uh, interesting considering it's not bad. It's not bad. None of the cards are bad, Ava. You know this.
I know, but I feel like her cards are just always stressful for a reason.
It is interesting that this one is the misremembered dream, considering what you were going to speak to Marianne about. Value 1, mysteries, rats, mirrors, stone, meanings, confusion, mistakes, and change in identity. Dreams are strange constructs of our subconscious, made stranger still because we don't remember them clearly. Some say that in shadow, people's dreams seem strange because they're remembering the actuality, and in the actuality, people's dreams resemble the mundanity of the gray. That is, at least in part, true. But of course, like anything having to do with the deepest reaches of the mind, it is much more complex than that. The line between memory and dream is already tenuous, but the memory of a dream, or the dream of a memory, who can count on that? Blue magic is enhanced, red magic is diminished, and stoics get a +1. It's like pretty neutral card. Pretty, you know, pretty even
Okay.
keeled. Oh, go ahead.
All I'm saying is that it's very funny that I've had enveloping darkness twice in this campaign so far. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, that card does like to get drawn for you. You're absolutely right. Marianne would be more than happy to host you over at her home.
Yeah. She'll bring in like a nice gift basket of like cheeses and a wine.
Marianne's home is shaped. It looks smaller on the outside than it is on the inside. So you go up and it's just a small. It looks like just like a 2-bedroom home kind of situation. When you knock on the door swings open. The rug kind of curls itself to kind of usher you over the threshold to get you to walk inside. And you walk through the door into this very grand entryway, stained glass stained glass windows all around, kind of letting in filtered light of different colors. Marianne comes down this staircase to greet you. Marianne dresses like a older woman who had her husband killed for his fortunes. So she's wearing like this long, flowy robe.
We love a Black Widow. Okay.
Like, look, and she's rocking it. Okay, we love this for Marianne. But she absolutely dresses like that. She's got this long, beautiful robe, hair done up in lovely curls. I was kind of surprised, Isra, that you wanted to speak with me. How can I help you today?
Before she says anything, I do have a question.
Mhm.
Are there tells that Eliseo has that Isra would know if Eliseo is nearby?
given the last couple of weeks and her showing up more and more often in the waking world, I would say yes, that you were catching on that they were probably always there, but you'd never needed to notice them as much as you do. The You know that moment whenever you're walking by a reflective surface and it almost gets blinding for a half second? It
Mhm.
stays like you can see that from an angle that you know it shouldn't be showing up like that, if that makes sense. Like normally it's because you're walking past and it hits that right perfect angle where the light is hitting it and it reflects just perfectly into your eye. Even after you move past that, that sort of blinding glare stays for a moment too long, because that's one of the things that you've generally noticed is happens to surfaces when LSAO is around.
Okay. Did she see that recently, like going into the house or before going into the house?
um no,
Okay.
that's not true. That's not true. Yes, you would have, because of the interaction with Alistair earlier. LSAO is on edge. LSAO is absolutely lingering.
Hmm. Okay. Marianne. Um. Hmm. Well, how to really put this? There have been things happening in my life, and a lot of it dealing with sleep and dreaming. So I wanted to find. Well, one, always I appreciate your company, but I also would just appreciate your advice as someone who's more senior in this field of study.
Of course, darling. Come in. Tell me all about it. And she'll grab the gift basket and put out some of the food and pour some wine and bring out with the wine some tea and some water and kind of just an assortment of beverages just in case, depending on what exactly it is that you're interested in. And I will say, since you were looking for the tells beforehand, if you would have wanted to have had a conversation with Eliseo before arriving, that's absolutely possible as well. But entirely up to you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's check in on toxic wife.
Eliseo's never done anything wrong a day in her life, okay? All of my
I
NPCs
want
are
to believe
perfect.
that so hard. I think Isra still believes that somewhat, but ah!
Um, Probably shortly after Alistair left, but before
Hmm.
Stellan arrived, Eliseo would have checked in. Well, that was exciting.
I suppose so. I'm assuming you had a disagreement with the we of Alistair?
Hmm. I could sense some distension on their side before I stepped in. I apologize for doing so without checking with you first. I wasn't quite sure what the Legion, as you call them, had in mind.
Was that all?
What else would there be?
Hmm. I suppose it's just more so the curiosity of. Hmm. Ava's trying to find the best way to put this. I suppose I just didn't know that you were there.
Well, as I said before, it was dangerous, the place that I took you to last time. Better if I stay close.
But I haven't had much trouble recently. The protections are being held up well.
Which makes me glad. Do you wish me to be further?
It's not that, it's just more. You have told me that you trust in my insight and my choices, but there are some times where I worry that you linger because you do not. I think I could have handled the Legion. I appreciate your interference because I do think they were going to drop the tea on my head, but I could have handled it on my own.
Your confidence will never cease to amaze me, my darling. gently, I don't know if anybody could handle that legion in particular. But I understand. And I understand when I have overstayed not a welcome, but crossed a line, I should say.
I am planning on visiting a friend today in regards to some business dealing with my friend Bellamy. And now that there's the conversation of Alistair's dreaming, I may ask her insight on the matter as well, just due to the nature she knows more than I do. I would love if you can accompany me, but I would also appreciate if you leave me for that conversation, just due to the privacy of my friends.
As you wish. Let me know when to make my leave, and I shall.
Can I do an interactions just to check to see if she's being truthful to her word?
Of course, of course.
Or perception, or whatever this insight would be.
No, yeah. Let's do interact. Let's do interact. We'll call this a CR. It would have been a CR5. We'll drop it to a 4 because of your bond with her.
Okay. Because you're so hecka gay, we'll drop it. 9.
Wonderful. Eliseo seems miffed about it, but is absolutely going to be honest and
She's gonna
stand
pout.
by it. Yep. There's going to be some pouting involved, but she's going to do what you've asked.
We love when the entities pout. So we'll fast forward a bit, but before she steps into the threshold, she'll give like a nod to the side of her as like a signal. I would like to be left alone now.
Moving forward, you don't see sort of that strange reflective glare. You don't catch any reflection of Eliseo on any surface.
Okay. Well, where should I start? It's been so long. There's been a lot happening recently. Well, I guess we can go with the more simple question. I have a friend who is dabbling in mysteries of death. I think there's someone close to her that has passed, and I believe she was wondering on ways of maybe finding communication with them. I know that sometimes when one passes, they still have access to the dreaming, but I don't really have a lot of experience with that.
Sure. Well, the way that the dead work in Santorini is that anything that was once alive can have a ghost, and anything that can have a ghost can have a dream. And anything that can have a dream, in theory, you are able to access as a dream walker. And it's not so much different from typical dream walking, a little bit harder to locate those dreams. You could always go to the Pale and try and find them, or find their ghost here if they haven't crossed over yet to the other sun. If you're wanting to walk the dream specifically of the dead, I would recommend talking to your guide about it, or perhaps visiting the Dreamery in Saturnine. That could be one way to go about things.
Well, that does actually bring up an interesting point. I do not believe I have access to the Dreamery. Would that be something that I can ask you to accompany me to one of these
Sure.
days?
Or I can send word that they can expect you to drop by, if that would
Oh,
be most
lovely.
beneficial. Will there be anybody traveling with you?
At the time being, actually, just in case, I will say, I don't remember Bellamy's full name, but she'll say Bellamy just in case.
Okay. I'll make note that Eastern Amat and guests potentially will be coming to pay a visit. Just make sure your guests behave themselves, since it will be there under my name, and I don't want that to cause any issues down the
course.
line. But
Of course. I guess also in that vein, have you had experiences with walking in dreams of those who are host to entities?
once or twice, I may have accidentally ended up walking somebody who was being possessed, but not intentionally. Why?
I got a request. Let's just say they are very interesting case. They don't have a lot of details behind the possession, and they wanted to see if maybe the dream walking can glean some of that information. I'm trying to omit as much as I possible for their privacy.
Sure, sure. The thing to remember then is that the possessed and the possessor are often intermingled when it comes to dreams. It's impossible to walk the dreams of your friend without also walking into the space that the possessor exists in. Should the entity be displeased by having you there, they could have means to repel you. Um, they would have to be very strong to be able to do so, but it is something to be prepared for nonetheless.
I think that may be something where I would go to the Dreamery and do the dream walking there, just to be on the safe side.
I think that is a good call.
Which I suppose brings about the last question. Well, two-parter question. I'm having a suspicion my dream guardian may not be a dream guardian. And it may be. It kind of came ahead when they took me to a place. From what I recall, it was something dealing with an enemy of something. They took me to that place. I don't know what the enemy of it was, but
They took you to the dark.
recently I had an issue with a demon presence in my home. It was taken care of recently, but I wasn't too sure how the entity came across my home. And I suppose her way of showing was to show where it came from, possibly.
And it took you not only to the dark, but to the presence of one of the demon lords. An enemy.
As far as I'm aware, yes.
That does not sound like a dreamwalker at all, you're correct. Accessing the dark, guiding you somewhere that is unsafe, neither of those things are something that a dream guide should be doing. This would be something to bring up to the Dreamery as well.
If they're not my dream guardian, then what happened to what was supposed to be my dream guardian? Do we always have one?
You don't always, but if you have one, then typically it's something carefully selected, usually a past dreamwalker themselves. Somebody who understands what it's like to be in your shoes and can guide you through that process and that experience, and certainly not somebody who would be endangering you in anything.
Well, that is quite sad.
We can have you reassigned though. When you're dreaming, when you walk when you're at the Dreamery, they can have you reassigned.
Hmm. I know that is technically supposed to be wise, but I suppose because I'm just so used to them, I feel hesitant to do so.
An entity that can guide you to the dark was never immortal.
I'm just seeing JD just nod there. It's like, mm-hmm. I guess there is some truth to people saying that I keep interesting company.
Well, it certainly sounds like it. Look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Lord knows that I've made it this far not listening to what everybody else tells me what to do. But if you don't want to be reassigned, don't mention anything about your dream guide at the Dreamery. And I won't say anything either. But that worries me.
I know. If I know saying if it seems to get worse after saying I was taken to the dark sounds wild, but at least when that happened, it felt they were doing everything possible to ensure I wasn't harmed, and for the most part, any harm that happened to me was me intentionally doing it, not because they weren't trying. But if it feels like I cannot control the situation anymore, I'll report it then.
Thank you, dear. Is there anything else that I can help you with? You have so much on your plate right now.
I think I may just sit here for a bit and just. If you have any stories to tell, that would be greatly appreciated. There's just been so much. A lot of. Hmm. Do you know of proper ways to dispose of mirrors by any chance? I fear all this started because of a mirror.
Well, you shouldn't be keeping mirrors either way, but shattering them tends to be the most effective way to go about things. And past that, I wouldn't leave it to chance just throwing it out or giving it to somebody else to dispose of. I would do it yourself.
Um, it was a bit foolish of me, but there was one in the shadows. It brought comfort.
The mementos will get us.
Hmm.
If you simply don't want anything to crawl out of it, perhaps wrapping it very tightly in something, but you won't be able to look at it, of course.
I'll think over my options, but I suppose it's best to get rid of it.
You have a lot of hard choices ahead of you, Isra. I don't envy you.
I don't envy myself either. This is quite annoying. I feel like that's why I like sleep so much. I don't have to think so much about these types of things, but I fear that that's now catching up with me.
Well, let me regale you with some stories and I'll bend your ear for a bit, just to at least give you a bit of a distraction.
Thank you, friend.
And Marianne will tell you stories about when her last two husbands were alive and the travels that she would go on and where she was headed, and certainly had nothing to do with their passing, timely or otherwise. Um, and you're there for quite a while when you feel something shift in the ground. And it's a very harsh, abrupt shift. Almost what you would imagine an earthquake to feel like if an earthquake all happened in 1 second and there was no buildup and there was no residual. Just in one moment, suddenly, something happens. Um, in Fartown, none of you three can see this, but what the camera would be able to see, a rift has opened in Fartown. And walking nearby, out on an errand on request, was Carter, who has now fallen into this rift and disappeared to the other side.
No!
And that, I think, is an excellent place for us to end tonight's session.
It is absolutely not, Kian.
It's not.
15 more minutes.
Carter's
15 more
the,
minutes.
Carter's the other half of the parents that have to sign the permission slip for Alistair. No!
Okay, that's not in the contract anymore.
We have
No!
we've already gone over time.
Don't kill my
But-
son, please.
Don't tell me what to do.
Okay, fair enough. My bad.
Only I could kill my son.
I can't.
There's a clause against that.
There are clauses against hurting Carter. Okay.
That's true. That's true.
Carter is protected from physical harm.
I would love to hand it back over to my cast to introduce themselves. We'll go in the same order that we did. So, starting with JT, tell us where you are, who you are, where we can find you, and what you're going to be doing next.
Hi, I'm JT. My pronouns are they, them. I'm at WeebGeet all over Twitter tonight. I was Stellan, the nicest man in the world. You can also find me at Entropy Emporium all over Twitter. This is technically my channel, allegedly, but it's everybody's channel. I got like 5 different people running games on this place. It's very cool. If you want to run a game, let me know. We got a lot going on and coming up, a lot of really cool stuff, including a game I think is maybe going to get off the ground soon, and then another game that I'm really excited about. It's a secret, though. But in the meantime, you can check out a lovely variety of different shows, including on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday, including this coming Tuesday, is They Call Us Villains, a Masks Horror actual play by JD, who is here, and I will let him talk about it more. On Thursdays, every other Thursday, is God Complex, our Girl by Moonlight Neon Genesis Evangelion / Pacific Rim inspired space campaign where we play sad little guys. On Fridays, bi-weekly, you can find me running Weird Wild Tour, our 5e homebrew campaign starring some really fun and cool people. And they're just getting started with that. On Saturdays, this, every other week. Blooming in the Rot, Invisible Sun, you get it. You watched the whole thing tonight, I imagine. Otherwise, we have an anthology series of games that are Brindlewood Bay or public access. They alternate, and we have a finale to air at some point or another. But after that, we are airing public access, I think, because Brindlewood Bay was the last. Yeah. So, the public access one is coming soon to this Twitch channel near you. As for me, you can find me in like 2 other things. The first being Nova over on Lost Caravan every other Wednesday, where I play Caldwell, a sad robot man who has maybe like 1 friend. Maybe. We'll find out who, I think. And then every other Wednesday, starting on September 4th, is Arc 3 of Beacons of Farlight, my post-apocalyptic actual play that I've been running, I think, for over a year now. That is coming to a close with this arc, and then I got some really big plan that I'm very excited about. But they are back in time, they are lost in time, and maybe they don't get to go home. Maybe they decide it's up to them. I told them, you guys pick. But it's very fun. I am very proud of that game. Please go check it out next Wednesday the 4th. It's going to be so cool to be back with my table. And that is everything that I have that isn't non-disclosure. So, check me out.
Thank you kindly. We'll send it over to Ava.
Hello, my darlings and dears. It's your Madam Ava here. You can find me anywhere at Madam Ava Couture. I'm still on Twitter. Sometimes you can see me posting on the TikToks. As long as one of their owners does not destroy it, ban it, or whatever the heck is happening on a given day. Luckily, I'm not in Brazil. But where can you find me right now? Tomorrow, you will see me on Exquisite Corpse Presents for our Thirsty for Lesbian campaign set in the Arthurian legend setting, Lunasan Stunray. Coronation, one of many happening in this season. This one will be for the Keeper of the Chalice. That's gonna be fun. We'll see what happens tomorrow. What else? Other than that, you can typically find me bi-weekly on Wednesdays on Girls Run These Worlds for Roll for Luck, our homebrewed D&D campaign, which right now we're in a different plane of existence. So we're in Orbital Blues right now. We'll don't know how long we'll be in Orbital Blues. Uh, stick around and find out where we go to next. Uh, watch my socials for any other campaigns coming up. I have one that is going to be happening soon, but it hasn't been fully promoted yet. So just check out my socials for there. Also, just a small plug for me, this week was my birthday. I'm 32 now. If you have any extra funds after you donate to our charities that have been running so far this week, send some dollars my way because I'm a struggling millennial. And I do also need to eat. But only after you donate to those other places. Those are way more important. I can survive for a little. I can survive a bit more. But that's it for me. Get some rest. Rest is good. Don't let your toxic waifus interrupt your sleep.
And we'll hand it down to JD.
Hey, I am JD. I can be found on the internet at JD not Jason Dean. I'm gonna do what I've been continuing to do, which is try and take things week by week. Because if I don't, I am in way too many projects. Though a few less this month and a few hiatuses next month as well. I am found most often over with Live from the Apocalypse. We are a TTRPG studio that is raising money for different good causes throughout the year, every year. And I will be there tomorrow night for. I actually forgot for a moment what it is. It is Academy H Night, our Masks Actual Play podcast, which we record every other Sunday, where I play Casimir Bright, who has done so many things wrong. I can't even claim otherwise. He makes the best and worst choices ever. Always interesting ones. Then, because I love Masks so much, as JT mentioned, I will be running They Call Us Villains, which is our horror masks game over here on Tuesday. We will be joined once again by our special guest, Rose, and we will get to see if the team is finally coming together and we can actually start putting some team in the pool because we are finally at that point and I'm excited for them. They probably will need it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. On Thursday, I'll be back with LFTA for Redacted, our psychological horror game, where everyone is a haunted house filled with ghosts, although some of them are now multiple haunted houses that are running around causing mayhem. So that's going to get interesting. And finally, for this upcoming week, I will be with Lost Caravan for our second episode of our Cyberpunk Red campaign, The Fall of the House of Red, which is, as you might have guessed, inspired by The Fall of the House of Usher. You can also find me in Nova with Kian and JT, and a handful of other campaigns that I will not throw out there because it is late.
Thank you kindly. And of course, my name is Kian. My pronouns are they, he. You can find me on the interwebs at uptight_chiffon, uptight-chiffon, depending on where you're hanging out. I am here every other Saturday running our Blooming in the Rock campaign. I am in They Call Us Villains. I am in Beacons. I am in Nova. Those three things have all already been mentioned. They are also, I think, the only three things that I can talk about right now. The rest of my projects that I have coming up are not yet announced, so follow me on social media. That's where you will hear about it first. I'm not going to hold this hostage any longer. As JD mentioned, it is late, so we are going to toss right over to Happy Jacks RPG. Tell them hello. Let them know where you came from. We always love to support our other RPG family members in this community. So hang out, follow the raid. I'm so sorry, y'all. My brain is just like, I can see my brain cells just leaving. Follow the raid. And of course, be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, be kind to the planet, pay attention to what's going on around you. And we will see you all in 2 weeks. Have a good evening, everyone. Say goodbye, cast. Where's my button?
Goodbye, cast.
Goodbye, cast.